Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of MSP Masters. And this week we've got Aaron Thirling from Amico IT joining us. Thanks for coming along, Aaron. You've popped across from Bonnie, Yorkshire, over there. So thanks for joining us.
No problem.
So you're an MSP, and we've been having a bit of a chat today, and you've been telling me a bit of your story. So I think it might be good for you to give us a bit of a brief overview of what Amico IT does, what kind of service you run, how long you've been going, and just kind of give us a bit of a gist as to like where you're up to at the moment.
Amico IT have been sort of going for 14-15 months now. We're still a very small MSP, still very much finding his feet in the MSP market. We've got to around between 15 and 20 managed service clients now, and that's his bread and butter. So we are a managed service provider. We try and offer the full sort of service to our clients, as in the remote IT support, the on-site support, security solutions, backup solutions, pretty much everything. So give them a sort of a full package, rather than just we provide internet for this service for this site, where we provide IT support but nothing else for this site. We try and give us clients pretty much everything. With us not being too big, we're still able to offer that good service, whereas we are able to take us time with the IT support, with the remote IT, with the on-site IT support as well.
Right. Okay.
So we have a very good relationship with all our clients.
Right.
And that's one thing that we try and do.
Okay. So I mean, you're kind of like in that category of where you're the man at the moment, aren't you?
Pretty much,
You've been going about a year and a half, and you're the MD, you're the technical director, you're the finance director, you're kind of everything at the moment, aren't you? So how's that working out for you?
Well, I've learnt a fair bit about bookkeeping over the last 6 months as well. We don't bore it up. We are there's two of us at the minute, so we've got a brand strategist who takes care of the websites, the marketing for his clients, and then I'm pretty much running the place. So I do all the on-site visits, all the IT support remotely, security solutions, backup solutions. So my job's pretty much varied from day to day. Sure.
So I mean, it's great at the minute because you've just got through that 12-month point and you're seeing growth, which is brilliant. But there's obviously with any kind of success in business, there's a lot of hard work and a big backstory that kind of goes behind it all. And so take us back a bit, because you're a former military man, aren't you? And that's kind of where you started out. So tell us a bit about that part of your life and how you kind of transitioned into IT and how that works.
I left the school as a sort of boy soldier, so I went to Army College. I spent about 4 years in the Army, 4 or 5 years in the Army. Didn't really work out how I wanted it to work out, and sort of left after about 4.5, 5 years. And we sort of fell into IT. Never really touched the computer in my life before then. They were doing some pretty nice courses at different locations around the world, some in India, some in South Africa, and I ended up choosing an IT course as part of me sort of get out of jail card from the Army, because it was in an exotic location. So
So you went for the sunshine, basically.
I went for the holiday. It was 8 weeks on a beach, learning about computers, and I just went for the holidays. And when I were out there, I sort of enjoyed what I did. We ended up getting through a couple of courses out there, some of the young Microsoft courses and the A+ and the M+. Got through a few of them courses and applied for some jobs while I got out there. Within 2 days of being back, I were in work. And that's, I guess, all she wrote, really.
So you basically went and you did the course. It was a Microsoft focused course.
Certified desktop support technician, I think.
Okay.
I don't know what they call it these days.
So you basically you went out there, didn't really know anything about IT or computers or anything like that.
Not really.
And you came back with a qualification, and you managed to walk into a job within a couple of days, which is fantastic, isn't it? So so what kind of happened after that? You were in kind of like IT support and service desk type roles, weren't you, for quite a while? So for sort of 5 years, worked for a big multinational MSP, and I did first line for sort of 5 years there. We had a bit of a cushy position, but there were no sort of career progression there. Got stuck in a rut and couldn't really develop at the time. So I decided to move
closer to home, to a local MSP, so a real, you know, traditional MSP, small family-run business,
right.
That supported local companies instead of, you know, the government or, you know, the contracts and the NHS that we were supporting at the time.
Yeah.
So this was just sorting B2B clients really. So I sort of, when I was there, I got a real feel for how MSPs worked, and I knew that this was the area that I needed to work in, that you know, that I were most comfortable, rather than just being, you know, help desk engineer just banging 50 tickets out of the day, whoever, you know, it were, you know, you were the man if you were bashing 60-70 calls out a day, but there were no sort of personal feel to it. It was just like password reset,
right.
And it sort of got mind numbing. So when you move into a traditional MSP and you see how things work, the on-site support, and how you develop those relationships, you sort of, you either love it or you hate it. And it was something that I found myself to be pretty good at earlier on. So I'd sort of found my niche from the first line at the big multinational, then to the second MSP that I went at, going through the second and third line support, to actually running my own MSP now.
Right, okay. So at some point you've kind of obviously had there's been a moment in time at some point in the last kind of like 2 to 3 years where you've thought, right, do you know what, I'm going to go out on my own, you know, and I'm going to set up my own MSP business, you know. So what was it, you know, what was that kind of you know, moment that was like, right, I'm going to do this now, I'm going to take the plunge and I'm going to go for it?
I think it's always there in the back of your mind that you think, right, one day I'm going to do this. It's, you know, whether or not you're in any walk of life, if you're just out selling your product here, you one day, right, I'm going to do it on my own. I think it's relevant to everybody, but a good couple of years ago I found myself in that position thinking, right, I could do this on my own, I could do this my way, I could make my own mistakes, I could you know, implement my own technologies, and it came far too soon, and if I probably could have gone back, I don't regret anything, but you know, the sensible side of me would have probably, you know, wait another year or two, get a bit more experience, a bit more experience underneath your belt, you know, talking to people at a senior level, realizing, you know, that the trials and tribulations of business, that cash flow is king and everything. Understand all that before you you jump into it feet first. So it kind of happened really quickly for me. I was very happy at an MSP in South Yorkshire, where we'd had massive growth from when I joined. At one point I was the sole engineer with the MD, and I was the sole engineer for a good couple of months, just running, you know, 300 or 400 workstations and 50 servers on my own for a good few months, and then all of a sudden we've got 10 engineers in the office working with us. So we'd seen a lot of growth, a lot of success, and it was where I wanted to be at that time. And then you know, sometimes things happen, and I got a knock at the door, and you know, do you want to run your own MSP? And it sort of just fell into it like that, and it was like, well, it's been on my mind for a couple of years. And what I did was I got an offer to be an internal IT manager for a company, and at the same time it allowed me enough time. I was given the green light to set up on my own, so it was sort of an offer that I couldn't refuse really, because I was getting paid a salary for the job that I was doing, which wasn't far off what I was doing, and it allowed me, you know, the opportunity to build my own company. And that's when we set up in February of last year. And obviously we've hit the 1 year point this year, which at times I didn't think we'd get to, but we're still fighting.
So you've talked about a few of the challenges there. You kind of you said I would have waited another year, you know, I would have learned a bit more and got a bit more experience and stuff. I mean, I think something that we find when we talk to a lot of MSPs that are relatively recently set up is like, you know, when's the right time? You know, there's never really a convenient time, and it's hard to know and stuff. But I'm interested to know a little bit more about some of those challenges that you've had since you've set up in that, like, you know, in the last 12 to 18 months kind of thing, where you know, what have been the really hard moments that you've had, and you know, how have you managed to kind of work your way around them?
One of the most difficult aspects of sort of when we set up is trying to find new business. Being a technical engineer for the last 10 years, you're sort of thrown into the deep end thinking, oh right, okay, well, it's all good, you're saying you're going to run an MSP, but are you going to bring clients on? So we're not. You have to look at, you know, do you bring somebody in to help you with it? Do you bring a proper salesman in? Do you outsource your telesales? Do you outsource your marketing? What do you do to get there? And you're finding you're making mistakes as you go in, where if there's not a lot of planning that goes into these things, whereas there wasn't in my case. It was just sort of, right, I'm going to do this,
right,
with not much months and months of thought that should have gone into it. It was like, right, I'm going to make these mistakes as I go and see where we get to, so to speak. And so the growing the business side of things is really tough, and then you've got the accounting side of things. You've got to, as well, as an engineer, you don't really get put into director level conversations that you've got to have with other people. So you're going into these businesses where there might be 20, 30 users strong, and these guys have been in business 10, 15 years, and you've got to sit down there and you instantly feel you are out of your depth.
Right.
You're having these conversations and you're just out of your depth. So I'm just trying to go in and, I'm speaking to people, right, this is what you need technology wise. And they're more along the lines of, right then, well, this is what needs to happen on a business level, at a cash level, and you're thinking, you're out of your depth, but then, if you're never out of your depth, then you're never gonna you're never going to progress, are you? So that's been one of the most difficult side, the business side of things. The technology is, touch wood, fairly easy. You've just got to keep up with the times. Especially with how the MSPs, market space is going at the minute. It's all cloud based. Your Azure, your AWS. You've just got to keep up with the times to move forward. But definitely the business side of things.
Right. Okay. So I mean, getting customers is like a massive challenge, isn't it? And you mentioned that getting that buoyancy in the first 12 months, that's only happened quite recently for you, hasn't it? Where you've been able to get to the point where it's kind of sustainable.
When we set up, as a new business, if you haven't got a lot of money yourself to throw at it, then you've got to go down other areas. You've got to go to the bank and lend some money. You can use these government-backed schemes that help UK start-up businesses, and that's exactly what we did. So we approached the British Enterprise Fund. This is a business plan, all right? It's great, blah blah blah. We'll, and fed some money into the company to allow us to to grow, so to speak.
Right.
And I've lost my train of thought.
So you were talking about, I guess what I was trying to get at was, the kind of sacrifices that you've made, and like the question is always around, right, that first year or even the first 3 years, cash is king, isn't it? And it's like, a lot of people that we talk to, they go through these trials and tribulations of, well, do you know what? I had to move back in with my dad. I paid myself 50 quid a week or whatever. I mean, I'm just trying to get to like how, have you got to the point yet where you can cover your salaries, you can cover your bills, your costs and stuff? And how long did it take you to get to that point?
Yeah, from the 12-month point. So we got to us one year birthday, and that was the first time that I was able to take a salary out of the company.
Right, okay.
Or a full salary. I was able to take a little bit out, as we took on more clients. But the first time I was able to take a full wage out with the 12-month point. So it's been hairy over the last sort of 12 months, thinking should I throw in the towel, should I go back to work and earn 4 times what you're earning now? So it's you just got to keep going, and I wasn't really going to stop until they took my car off me.
Right, that was going to be the moment, was it, for you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right, okay. Sleepless nights?
Some.
Yeah. How do you think you've handled the stress of being in that startup phase?
Quite well, actually. I used to be my old boss will be able to attest to me being a real flapper.
Oh really?
Yeah,
right.
Definitely. So when I still meet up with him from time to time now, and I've sort of mellowed out a lot, and he can see that I've mellowed out a hell of a lot recently. You get put into these awkward situations, and when you're in these awkward situations, you have the awkward conversations on a daily basis. You sort of, you don't become immune to it, but it just becomes second nature to you. That you have to do it. I used to shy away from everything when I was younger. Now you do that. That's a bad conversation. Will you, to my boss, will you have that conversation with him, because I don't want to do it. There's nobody else. You ain't got anybody else around you now to be able to take that off you. So you soon learn that, there's you.
If you don't do it,
if you're doing it, then you didn't bother.
If you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for you.
No, they're not. No.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's amazing, really, that you've got through that first 12 months, and that's the first time you've been able to take, like, what you'd regard as like a full salary. I think that's a massive sacrifice. We've got someone drilling.
Yeah. It's like my next door neighbour.
So I mean, you're 12 months in. What's been kind of like the biggest success then? You know, what is it now? You're like, you know what? Yeah, that's brilliant that we've achieved that. Almost like, you know, I mean, you've talked about a few different jobs that you've done, and the fact that you got through 12 months and stuff like that.
Yeah, obviously the biggest thing for me was to get to a point where your company's stable. And I guess we still got, you know, a good couple of months before we're, you know, sort of out of the water. But yeah, the 12-month point and finally being able to take a salary after 12 months, we're pretty good. Yeah. Not having to chase all the time, and you know, the bits of business that people don't really like talking about, and getting to that point where we're pretty special. Yeah.
In your mind, what does success look like? You know, when someone says to you, right, how's business? What will you be able to say to feel like you've kind of like got there? Yeah. You know what I mean? What will have happened at that point?
Put my computer and my phone down at 5 o'clock at night.
Really?
And be able to forget about it until 8 o'clock in the morning.
Really? Right, okay.
That'll be success.
So you want to have that balance between work and life.
I think it's one of the reasons why everybody sort of starts up as well, is your own freedom as well.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to work 24/7, but you soon find for the first 6, 7, 8 months, our 16-hour days were just normal. Yeah. And it is for everybody. It's not like, oh, you've got your own business, so, you know, you're just going to work harder. That doesn't take anything away from anybody who's working for you, for instance.
Sure,
if they're putting in the graft after hours, you know, but it's certainly tough. You know, the first part. So getting to a stage where, you know, you're able to cut back, maybe not give somebody else the reins, but just get to a point where your business is doing exactly what it needs to be. Because if your business is still churning away at, you know, 10, 11 o'clock, and you've still got clients phoning you that time, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know. And you want to get to a point where everything's happy, and that's one of the stages that we're at now as an MSP, even though we're tiny. In MSP sense, there's some of my competitors in Yorkshire have 300 or 400 clients, and I'm, you know, pre-20 clients, but they're all managed clients, so they've on-site support, they've remote support, and that's fine for us. But where we are now, it's just good. Everything just works, and we're at a stage where we're ready for the next client.
Yeah,
we've got all those onboarding processes covered, so that's a major part of. One of the problems that I used to have before at working with MSPs is not having a proper process set in stone, and just not going out and winging it, so to speak, but not being able to define your own processes of, you know, how you want to take people on, what you'd like to do. So we're at a stage now where I've been able to strip everything back, and because the clients have been few and far between, and maybe one client every month since we've been started, it's given us time to be able to define that process of what you do. So when we take a new client on now, between 10 and 20 users, we're going to have that wrapped up in 2 days, because the process is sort of, you know, that defined. And we're able to just grow now quite easily.
Right, okay. So if it's all right, I'd like to ask you briefly about sales and marketing. And you mentioned that you know, getting the customers has been one of the biggest challenges for you. I mean, what kind of techniques and methods have you used for getting new leads, and what's worked and what hasn't?
Yep. Well, we've been out door knocking. So we had a business development manager that worked for us that went out door knocking. So most of our leads just came from door knocking. Telesales is very few and far between, especially in this sector. It's certainly not dead. It's certainly not dead by any means, but it's tougher than actually going out and meeting people. From what I find, it's, you know, you knock on a local person's door, they prefer it 100 times more than they would a phone call. I think everybody's always on the back foot. From what I've seen, and, you know, the people that have been working with me, everyone's always on the back foot when you're ringing them up and trying to sell them something, and especially something that people don't really want to, you know, buy. The bigger companies know that they need IT. The smaller companies think, you know what, we're not. They're more along the lines of, we need to run IT rather than IT run us. But it's not always the case. What we do enables companies to grow at a far quicker pace than they might would if we weren't to implement new technology. If we weren't to give them new solutions. You know.
Okay, so if you were going to start again, if you were going to start right now, you know, if there's, you know, there's MSPs that are watching that are thinking about setting up as a managed service provider, what advice would you give to them, you know, based on the stuff that you've learned over the last few years?
Plan. Just plan. I mean, if you find yourself in a situation where, you know, you just need to do it and just crack on, do it. But you've got a plan, you've got to have the finances in place. I mean, I've changed my website 3 or 4 times. We rebranded because we weren't happy a couple of months into it, so we rebranded the same company but just changed its name, different colours and everything. It wasn't working. We felt it wasn't working for us. But even before that, we changed the website twice, and since I've rebranded, I've changed my website twice. So marketing leaflets as well. You know, all these things, all these little things that you don't think about, you sort of just rush into it, and you're like, right, and I like that. A couple of months later, you know, I wish I'd have done this different. Cash is key. It's so, not demoralising, but it's tough picking a phone up, right? Is this getting paid? Is this getting paid? Is this getting paid? Especially being in my position where I've not had that funding, where we've pretty much had to do it from, and I mean, we got a bit of funding, but we were always behind. So we were trying to get to it always every month, just trying to get, and it takes it away from what you're trying to do for clients in terms of the technology, in terms of making sure that everyone's, you know, always online. There's no problems here and there. So dealing with all the accounting side of things, you've got to prepare right, get the right accountants, do your research on your right accountants, do your research on your RMM platform. I mean, I came over to Ninja, I think 6-7 months into when I started up as an MSP. I was with one of your bigger competitors, and you know, things weren't right, and I was wasting valuable time through trying to bend the RMM platforms around what I was trying to do. So I went out there and I tested another couple of RMM platforms like this, and this was the one that sort of stood out for me straight away, and it allowed me to use the technology to do what I wanted it to do, rather than me trying to bend my processes around the RMM platform. And that was one of the biggest things that has sort of helped me be able to, you know, do technology right, basically.
So basically, get plenty of planning in place, get your kind of like your product stack sorted out, make sure you're using the right tools, and just kind of, you know, plan as much as you can really, and go for it. Okay, brilliant. Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming in. Thanks for joining us, and it'd be great to have you back sometime. And we hope that everybody watching has enjoyed this and found it useful. And we're sure that plenty of you out there have experienced similar trials and tribulations. If you'd be interested in coming in and doing one of the MSP Masters interviews, we'd love to have you. So get in touch. And Aaron, thanks again.
Cheers.
Bye everyone.
Done.
Happy?